Tales from the wild. Stories from the heart. A journey into the mind and soul of fired-up business professionals where they share their vision for the future. And hear from a different non-profit organization every month as they create awareness of their goals and their needs. Dive into a world of untamed passion as we join our host, Shireen Buerta, for this month's episode of Friends from Wild Places.
All right, welcome. Shireen here. I'm your virtual bookkeeper and QuickBooks advisor. Proper bookkeeping is essential for businesses to monitor their financial performance, comply with tax obligations, and make informed decisions. Without it, businesses may struggle to manage their finances effectively and could run into legal and financial difficulties. Keep your finger on the pulse of your business by hiring your bookkeeper today from Shireen's Bookkeeping Services. If you want to know more, go check us out at www.shireensbookkeeping.com and allow me to keep your books clean so you don't have to. Welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Friends from Wild Places with myself, Shireen, and my most amazing co-host, Tanya Skirtesi. Tanya, by the time we post this, Hurricane Milton will be just a memory. But how are you and your family doing?
Okay, well, good morning, Shireen. Nice to be here with you. So yes, we had quite the adventure with Hurricane Milton, which was preceded by Hurricane Helene. So it's been, that's what living in Florida is. So as many of you know, I am from Venice, Florida. So a lot of friends and family actually headed my way to be safe during that hurricane time. So everyone got back safe and sound. And here we are again, happy to join you. And we have a beautiful guest this morning, Miss Celeste.
Hello, everyone. I am Celeste Hackett, a board-certified hypnotist. My business is Family First Hypnosis. I'm located in Plano, Texas.
Thank you.
Nice to have you with us.
Yes, welcome, Celeste. We love having us, women-owned businesses and entrepreneurs from all over the world. That is our focus, as well as just a little extra for you guys as listeners. I know we've mentioned this before, but we are making extra content for you guys behind a paywall for as little as $5 a month. You can catch that anywhere. It'll be locked, obviously, on all the platforms. But if you subscribe today, you'll get all the juicy content that Tanya and I are creating. It's really basic issues that we all deal with day to day, but we go really deep on some of these topics. So I'm really excited about that. So we're looking forward to seeing you there. But yeah, so let's go ahead and introduce Celeste. So Celeste is the renowned hypnosis professional with over 2 decades of experience specializing in groundbreaking age regression techniques. Interesting. So yes, Celeste is the founder of Family First Hypnosis, a practice built on the belief that when one family member makes a change, it positively affects the entire family. A former radio announcer turned subconscious expert, Celeste's communication skills allow her to connect deeply with her clients. When she's not working with clients, Celeste loves being, in her garden, doing some awesome gardening and connecting with nature. So welcome again, Celeste. We are so happy to have you.
It is my pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to join your audience and you guys.
Thank you. So first things first, guys, I just I shared with you earlier an interview with Michael Knowles with a gentleman by the name of John Ramirez, who was an ex-Satanist turned evangelist, right? But if listeners, if you want to go and listen to the whole interview of John Knowles, you can. It's on YouTube. I think this is quite interesting, and because it's the spooky month, I just thought this would be quite a cool discussion. Lots to actually talk about, but we won't go too much into it because we've got lots to cover. But basically, and we've spoken about Michael Knowles before. He's an American conservative political commentator, YouTuber, author, and media host. He has worked for the Daily Wire since 2016. And he's the one that interviews Mr. John Ramirez, who was involved in Satanism, Santeria, which is quite interesting. Never heard of the religion Santeria before. And he was a high priest in this order in New York City, and he recruited souls into the occult, which I can only imagine what that means. But yeah, so Ramirez's story is told in his book, Out of the Devil's Cauldron, A Journey from Darkness to Light. So that's also something that you can go read if this interests you. But ladies, first of all, I didn't even know that there was a religion called Santa Maria. Santeria. I don't want to confuse the names. There's a couple of different names of places and, things, but my goodness. A little background of this religion is it's an Afro-Caribbean religion based on Yoruba beliefs and traditions with some Roman Catholic elements added. The religion is also known as La Rechla Lusumi and the rule of Osha. Santeria is a syncretic religion that grew out of the slave trade in Cuba. I would love to hear your thoughts, ladies. Like, this blew my mind. So please go ahead. What was interesting to you, ladies?
Let's have you start us off, Celeste. Any comments or thoughts or involvement as far as, are you familiar with it or not familiar? Let's start there.
Well, I had never heard of Santeria precisely, but I'm from Louisiana and I lived in New Orleans. So the voodoo that happens down there, some of that kind of stuff, there's some similarities. And as a hypnotist, doing the kind of work that I do, we're finding root causes of things all the time. And there can be within a person, you could call it a mental construct or a belief or an actual being in them. Like, people in this way of thinking, when you do hypnosis, can be haunted by an ignorant spirit. And also there can be what one might call a demon or a devil, and then multiple ones within a being. Mm-hmm. So sometimes those people can show up in our offices and they don't even know they have this problem. And then when you can't help them and you do some digging, some of these ideas are coming up, some of these beliefs or whatever this is. We treat it, or we handle it, I should say, as if it's real, and we get very good results. We have a protocol that's very much like an exorcism, I guess you could say. You're sending the being away. I don't see much of this kind of thing. I'm very aware of it. And the same protocol or some other protocols are out there for spells that have been put on people and that kind of thing. It's not my expertise, but I'm familiar with it. And I've had a few moments in my history as a hypnotist with a few interesting things that have happened, but mostly it's not what I deal with.
Interesting. Yeah. And myself, I have, there's here, especially here in Miami, familiar with it. And there's the part that's just, I don't want to say it's not interesting, but if you understand the center, there's a lot of animal sacrifice. So that's, a lot of times you'll hear like posting on our local community, Nextdoor app is very popular here, where animals are found, beheaded and sacrificed. So it can be quite disturbing from that point, especially for all the animal lovers out there, as far as the rituals that go into place. But yes, I am familiar with it.
Oh my gosh. And Tanya, I don't know how you felt, but he was actually talking about that, Miami specifically, and he even mentioned for the human sacrifices that they have sources. They have sources of where they get human body parts and etc., which is okay. I don't want to know exactly who the sources are, but you can kind of imagine, where these places could be. But the other thing that he said, which was also quite interesting, was he spoke, and I think this is his, and he said so, that this is his main goal, is exposing the work of the devil and demons and all that. And he actually spoke about mediums, tarot cards, and what really happens when you go to a medium. And she actually, it's a money-making thing. So it's both. It's obviously curses and all that, but it's also them trying to make money. And they kind of put curses on the people, the innocent people that come there, and they go away, and the inhuman spirits actually follow them home. And the curse happens, which brings them back to the medium, and which they pay all the money which was quoted to them. And from there, they listen to all the information that these inhuman spirits told them. And it's, wow, it's mind-blowing. Again, if you want to know more, go listen to Michael Knowles' interview with John Ramirez. And John Ramirez does have a book, but yeah, it was quite a interesting interview, but we can't stay too long there. We have so much to cover. So let's go on the quote of the day. Celeste has given us her favorite quote, and I think it's really amazing. It's "Go out on a limb, that's where the fruit is." Plain and simple, short and sweet. And it's possibly by Mark Twain. Celeste says she's not 100% sure who the first person ever said that was, but it's "Go out on a limb, that's where the fruit is." What does that mean to you, Celeste?
It means think out of the box and take some chances, because that's where things really get interesting. They're way more fun there. And that's where you do your highest level of learning and growth. So that's why I like it. And usually by the time people come to see me, they've done some of that, because they're not going to come see a hypnotist first thing. They're going to have to start really thinking out of the box. For some people, it is taking a chance. So that's why I like it so much. And in my own life, I was a radio announcer before. There were some things that happened where I just thought, I'm going to be very bold, and boldness really wins the day in so many venues. And it particularly did in radio broadcasting. It helped me and served me many times. Everything is a double-edged sword. You can go too far with it, but the limb can break. But that's the fun and the excitement of going out on a limb. You just don't always know it's not going to happen, and you have to take a calculated risk and then see. So I just love that quote.
I love it as well. I think it's amazing, and it speaks a lot. Well, you've started it, Celeste, so you might as well continue. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the elements and the events leading up to the change of career? Because basically, this is our niche of this podcast. It's for the entrepreneurs and the business owners that didn't realize that that was going to be something that they were going to do later on in life, and made the career change quite late on in life, between 30 to 50 years of age. They were in one career and said, no, this is not for me, or whatever the case may be. And they let everything go and started on a brand new journey of being a business owner. And so this space that we created here is really a space of inspiration of how, what we've been through and how we've overcome it. So Celeste, please share with us and the listeners of, the events leading up to the career of you becoming a hypnotist.
Well, I can tell you a little bit about the early days of my life, and I won't go too deep into that because it will take too much time, but it is important in this because I didn't go to university. And that all started with a first grade teacher. Bless her heart. She'd be heartbroken if she knew she probably did this to me, but she was new. And I cheated on a math test in the first grade. And she shamed me in front of the class. I went home and told my mother, that I got in trouble and I was crying. And she said to me, to clinch the deal of me having a learning disability is what I would call it. Don't worry, girls in our family aren't good at math. So that was something that I accepted deeply, and it went on to cause me trouble in academia, in my opinion, which caused me not to go to university. And then from there, as I was growing older, about to get out of high school, I realized I had to learn something to do, and I certainly didn't want to do what most women in my hometown were doing, which was either nursing or teaching, and that required university anyway. So I looked around and eventually found a radio station that was really small. I was a very talkative young woman, and I had friends, and I liked to, I was just a happy, talkative young girl. And so I ended up going in there and talking my way into a radio show, believe it or not. And then from there, I grew my radio career for 24 years. So I started like at the age of 17, had my own training for free at this radio station. And then right after I turned 18, I had my own radio show, which was terrible at the time, but it was a radio show. And it was quite amusing when I go back and think about that. But and then I just grew that career, and it was about right after Y2K, like 2001, 2002, when I got fired. Now, in radio broadcasting, there's just all kinds of reasons to get fired. It doesn't really mean that you've done anything wrong. A lot of times they're just changing a format. They're bringing in some new ideas. And I had been fired before, but this time I knew that it was the end of radio for me. And actually, I saw it as the end of radio. And this was because I could see the internet coming up and what was happening there. And I knew that everything was going to go online. So I knew I needed to find something else to do. And my whole life, I had this burning desire to help people, but I didn't feel like I was smart enough to go become a psychologist or a therapist. And I didn't have the confidence for that. But when years had passed, and by this time, I also didn't want to waste any time going to college. So I was still looking for a way to help people that would be really useful. So I ended up looking into how people actually change, deeply change in a sustainable way. And what came in my research was, if you want to change someone deeply, you need to be able to do that kind of work in a subconscious area. And then when I learned or looked into how you access the subconscious, hypnosis came up again and again. So eventually I found a school. The first one wasn't very good. Then I found a school that I love a lot, and I still am in association with the school. I had a state licensed school myself teaching their method. It's Banyan Hypnosis Center. I still teach at a national level at their symposium. And so that's how I came into First Hypnosis. And then just seeing tons and tons of clients, experiences everything. I've gotten to the top of my field. So that's my story.
Wow, that's amazing. Amazing, Celeste. I have just a couple of follow-up just to dive a little bit deeper. So had you experienced hypnosis before you actually went to learn about it?
Well, not formally, no. But looking back, yes. The hypnotic state is a state that you slip into. It's just an ability you slip into, whereby deeper information can come to your awareness. My own mother stopped me from sucking my thumb at 9 years old. She just gave me direct suggestion. And with children, especially if a parent is confident, just saying something to you can really have an effect on you. So I was a thumb sucker. And my parents did not shame me for that or make a big deal out of it, because my mother knew that wouldn't be the best thing. She was just a very wise, naturally wise soul. And so if anybody said anything to me about it, she would always say, leave her alone. She'll stop when she's ready. So she was planting those seeds throughout my childhood from a very early age. And then one day, and this is the best time if you want to make a change with children, they have to feel motivated. So she was waiting for the moment when I might be motivated. And the moment came when a little friend of mine, I'll never forget, her name was Teresa Carbo. We were in the 4th grade, and we would walk home and to school together. And she invited me to spend the night with her, and I really wanted to go. So my mother was cooking in the kitchen, and I asked my mother if I could spend the night with Teresa Carbo. And my mother said, I think that would be fine. I think you're old enough. And I got really excited. And then I thought about something and I just became deflated. And she saw me and she said, "What's wrong?" I said, "She's going to see me suck my thumb." And she said, "This is her opportunity. Don't worry about it. I'm going to tell you just what to do." She said, "When you're laying in bed and you're just about to put your thumb in your mouth, what you'll remember to do at that moment is instead put your thumb under the blanket, just hold it there for a little while and you'll fall asleep. And the next morning you'll be so proud of yourself because you didn't suck your thumb." So that's exactly what I did. And I never sucked my thumb again until I was 30 years old, when I accidentally just woke up with my thumb in my mouth after having a very traumatic time in my life. I'm like, oh my God, because sometimes things will get triggered.
Right.
And never happened again after that. But it was weird that day when I was 30. But so it's moments like that. So that's probably my knowledge of my first, looking back, time when I was hypnotized. As far as going to a hypnotist, I know I went to one, but I can't remember it. Somebody was dabbling in it and worked with me, because I remember when I was in the class, I'm like, this sounds familiar. So I don't know if that person told me that I would forget, and I accepted that suggestion. It just didn't make enough of an impression on me. But I hope that answer wasn't too long.
No. It's fascinating. It's, and Shireen and I have, dived into different subjects about, for example, like you had mentioned the teacher, and in first grade for yourself. And I think, a lot of times, like just people in general, whether it's, a teacher, somebody that you look up to, maybe a pastor, whoever it is in the community, the impact that those single statements can make, or the acts that people do, like they're lifelong, like we still deal with them today, and it's just fascinating how as many positive things and blessings that happen to us, but sometimes that focus just goes there, and it's like, that's what you kind of live and relive in the story that you tell yourself. So that's fascinating. Tune in next week for part 2 from Friends from Wild Places.
You've been listening to Friends from Wild Places with Shireen Bueta. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast from the links to catch every episode and unleash your passion.